In this video, I want to talk about my 2021 Lexus LC500 convertible, and more specifically, the top 3 complaints that I heard about this vehicle in particular before I bought it. When I was researching online and watching videos, there were 3 things that just kept coming up as complaints about this specific car. And I will go over each of these complaints one by one and tell you why I actually don't think that they are problems or issues or should be complaints at all. And I will be back with another video about the top 3 things that I love about this car after owning it for about 6 months now. And the top complaint, the number one thing I heard over and over when researching this car, the complaint that I heard was about its infotainment system. And yes, this does have the outdated, the older infotainment system. 2024 came with an updated infotainment system. Really what this one is lacking is number 1, a touch screen, and number 2 is Apple wireless CarPlay. It does have Apple CarPlay, but it's not wireless. So first, let's talk about the lack of a touchscreen. So the touchscreen is actually kind of set back into the dashboard here, and you have to use this trackpad. Now, I can tell you, I have driven both the 2024 and this 2021 and other 2021s that I was test driving. And I can honestly say that after about an hour of using the trackpad, I was completely used to it and I actually prefer it. And I know that sounds like absolute blasphemy, but I actually like being able to kind of sit back with my arm rested and kind of just run my finger over the trackpad. And once you kind of, again, learn it, it becomes very intuitive. It's almost like, you can sit back and your arm is in a natural position, like you're kind of in a cockpit of a fighter jet or something like that. And I don't really want to lean forward and go up to the touchscreen. So I actually kind of prefer this method of interacting with the screen. And number 2 is my opinion is that it looks a lot better on the 2021 as opposed to the 2024, just because it's integrated into the dash. The 2024 kind of looks retrofitted where they just kind of stuck a tablet on the dashboard. So I think it looks better as well in this version. And also, honestly, you just have to think of how much you're actually messing with the infotainment system while you're driving. I mean, this car is all about the driving experience. So maybe you want to change radio stations or navigate to a specific location, and that's fine. There are plenty of buttons for shortcuts both on the steering wheel and on the dashboard to do this. You don't have to mess with the trackpad all that much if you don't want to, and it has voice commands, so you can very easily just ask it to navigate to wherever you want to go or change the radio station. And again, with Apple CarPlay, if you plug your phone in, you can do this via Siri as well, which is very, very easy to do. And one of the really kind of nitty-gritty things that I heard about the infotainment system, again, over and over and over again, is turning on the heated seats or the heated steering wheel. You have to actually go into the controls, again, via the trackpad, and go into the climate and change all that. And I will admit that that is a little bit cumbersome, but Lexus has a solve for that as well. All you have to do is select Climate Concierge, and then you never need to touch this control again. You just set the temperature to where you want it, and it will automatically turn on the vents, the heated seats, and the heated steering wheel, and even the neck warmer as well. But again, if you do want to make adjustments, you can always turn this off. Again, there's a button for that. There's buttons to increase the fan, to decrease it, to increase the temperature, to decrease it. So you really don't need to ever go in and manually adjust the heated seats or the heated steering wheel. It just kind of happens naturally. And again, I've had this car through the winter and now into the spring, and I've never had an issue with feeling too cold or even feeling too hot. Finally, again, on the infotainment side of it, it does not have a wireless CarPlay. Again, I don't think that's too big of a deal. I mean, I plug my phone in. It doesn't bother me at all, but again, this is a very easy fix. This is about a $50 fix. You go online and you get a wireless converter. You plug it into the USB and you can have Apple CarPlay wireless if you want it. It is not a difficult fix if that's what you want to do. All right, so with the infotainment out of the way, the next complaint that I heard is all about spacing. So we're going to break this down into two different sections. First, I heard over and over that the back seats are basically unusable, that they're not really back seats. And this is completely not true. I can fit into the back seat very easily. I will demonstrate here Ben actually getting into the back seat. And the back seat actually does a really cool function. When you get into the back seat will come back, but then as soon as it hits the person in the knees in the back seat, it will then adjust forward about 2 inches to give them a little bit of legroom. And Ben fits very easily back there, so does my wife. So it is usable, and it's usable for adults. Now, if you are a 6'7" person, you're probably not going to be all that comfortable in that back seat. But to be honest, you're not going to be all that comfortable in this car whatsoever, because in the front seat where I drive, I am 6'1", and my head is about 1 inch from the way that I have my seat set up, 1 inch from the top of the roof, the top of the ceiling. And sometimes, depending on how I have my hair done, my hair will brush against it a little bit. So this is not a super tall person's car, either in the front seat or in the back seat. So I think the main reason that people complain about the back seats so much is just seat envy. The front seats are just so nice. Again, they're fully adjustable. You've got this lumbar adjuster as well to get some lumbar support. They're ventilated. You've got this neck warmer on you. They're just super comfortable. Nice seats, fully leather. They're great. So I think it just comes down to seat envy. If you're in the back, you wish you were in the front. And next we'll just quickly talk about the trunk space. Now, the trunk is a little on the smaller side, but let me explain. So there's really nothing wrong with the length or the width, the depth of the trunk. The issue comes down to the height. So you can easily fit something that's not too high in the trunk. It's got plenty of space, again, lengthwise or depthwise, but it just doesn't have the height. So you can, again, very easily put a carry-on piece of luggage, again, as long as it sits kind of low, but this box that Ben is trying to put into the back seat won't fit because, again, it's just a little too high. And if it's awkward, if it's big on all sides and you can't like lay it flat, it is going to be tricky to fit into this trunk.
All right, and the final gripe, I guess, I'll go over that I heard tons when I was researching this car before I bought it is about its performance and the specs, basically, and how the specs and the performance really don't line up with a car that costs over $100,000. And to that, I would say it depends on how you're comparing it or what you're comparing it to. In my opinion, this isn't like a track car. This isn't something you're going to take to the track, really. I mean, although you could, but we're not comparing this here to a C8 or a 911 or a Hellcat or something like that. Believe me, this car has all the power you want as far as usable power, usable speed, acceleration, for driving around town, for normal use. No one's going to cut you off if you're trying to merge into traffic. You're always going to beat everyone off of the line if you're stopped at a stoplight. So you're the #1 car if you're driving around town as far as speed and performance and all of that. It just might not be, these upper end performance type of cars. This is really a blend between a really nice luxury car and a car with some speed and some power, because it certainly has that. You switch it from normal mode, which is this really luxurious, nice, comfortable kind of drive, over to sport mode, S mode. The sound of the car changes. When you step on the gas, it goes. So I can promise you, even though the specs might not line up to a car maybe in this price range, I would say it certainly makes up for it in other ways, and it certainly has all the usable power, meaning if you're driving around town, on the highways, things like that, it's got all the usable power you will ever want. All right, that is this video. I will be back with the things that I love about this car coming up very soon. Take care.